Hello everyone and welcome back to my Bold and Beautiful 29 YouTube channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bold and Beautiful just put the pieces in place for a huge infidelity reproach to explode, and the fallout will be so wide it'll be all anyone can talk about. Thomas blindsided Hope by returning to Forrester Creations out of the blue one day, with not only Douglas, but a new fiancé in hitch. The Golden assumed he'd come back to pick up where they left off, but was shell-shocked to learn that he'd proposed to someone differently in the megacity of lights. Hope was dumbfounded to discover that Thomas planned to marry unlucky-in-love Paris Buckingham and that Douglas was formerly calling her mama. It was a poke in the face that left her prayer with the dashing developer to come to his senses and get back to having coitus with her. She also called him out for moving on too presto, which is legal, but a laddie hypocritical given Hope has been spending her days featuring about Finn and not Thomas. Detergents, still, are going to cleaner, and Bold and Beautiful is no exception. Hope was informed by Thomas that he completely intends to marry Paris and make a future with her, which will leave the fashionista indeed more out-center than she has formerly been on the heels of his unforeseen departure, her father's marriage to a back-from-the-dead psycho, and her growing passions for Steffy's husband. Still, it's all a setup for commodity tragic, but veritably adulatory, if our hunch is correct. Despite Steffy's warnings to both Finn and Hope to stay down from each other, and Brooke ordering her son to stop having passions for Steffy's husband or differently, they've shown no signs of doing any similar thing. Last we saw them, Hope called Finn about Beth's illness and he came running, leaving her gushing over his medical superpowers and ripping his clothes off in her daydreams. Who differently would Hope turn to in her fermentation over Thomas' engagement but her good confidant, Dr. Finnegan? Now, Finn is Aunt Thomas' biggest addict, so he'll be none too happy to diss the developer, who happens to be his family-in-law, and to let Hope cry on his shoulder. We're sure she'll get a huge migraine from it all, which will bear the croaker to lay his magic hands on her yet again. It's as clear as day that we're headed for a huge infidelity reproach. Commiseration is among the #1 causes of cleaner pieces infidelity, and there's only so important featuring a character can do in their mind before the pens make it actually do. Given that Thomas is back, and the astounding nature of his return, the fallout from a Hope/Finn association will be indeed more far-reaching than it would have been had he stayed down. No bone. But Brooke, and Cleric and Sheila, knows that Hope has formerly been playing croaker with Steffy's husband in her fantasies, so folks are going to assume it was Thomas' shocking return that threw her for such a circle that she landed on Finn's stage. There will be blame to spare and the fallout will be grand as the reproach will affect so numerous lives, not to mention working connections, on the oil. Thomas' relationship with Paris may suffer if he isn't really over Hope and gets jealous, plus he'll have to deal with his family's heartache on his heart. Who differently will be pulled in? Brooke, Ridge, Lee, Deacon, and everyone who works with Steffy and Hope at Forrester. Extended family members will have opinions, Sheila will be thrilled beyond words, and God knows Liam will be at Steffy's door within twinkles of chancing out. It'll be chaos, we tell ya. Of course, this could each be leading to an infidelity reproach of another kind, if Hope were to get Thomas back into the sack whilst he was still engaged to Paris. But that would be lower position drama, and we doen't suppose the pens established such a amorous connection between Hope and Dr. Feel good for nothing. At Forrester, Steffy calls Hope out for kissing Thomas. She tells her he's moving on with Paris, someone who's committed to him and wants a future with him. You need to leave Thomas alone and admire his wishes. Hope asks if it doesn't worry her that Thomas proposed to her not that long ago and is now engaged to Paris. Come on, Steffy. That doesn't concern you in the design office. Ridge is still trying to reuse that Paris and Thomas are engaged when his son walks in. He'd have told his father about his engagement sooner, but it didn't feel like the right time. Ridge asks why he'd keep this from him. You told Steffy, but you didn't tell me. Why? Thomas knows he's meddled up with connections in the history. He just wanted to be 100% sure about this, before he told him. I am, Dad. At Bill's place, Luna asks her mama if she's okay. She's been out of it since the Pizza Joe came. Bill walks by and couldn't help but eavesdrop. He asks who came by. Poppy says a deliver Joe came by and she was awaiting him. Bill's unimpressed with his security and says he'll deal with them. He's veritably defensive of his family. He steps down to take a call from Liam about work, and Luna notices a leaflet about live music by Tom Starr at Il Giardino tonight. She tells her mama it sounds like fun. They should go. At Il Giardino, Tom strums his guitar and tells Cleric and Hollis that music has been a big part of his life all of his life. Cleric is blown down by his gift and gushes that the patrons are in for a treat. Tom appreciates the occasion. Hollis asks about his performing history. Tom says he's performed at bars and carnivals. Music's in my blood. Hollis thinks it must have been a rush, playing on stage. Tom reveals that he'd quite a following and got some radio play. They ask if they know the song. Tom says they'll have to hear and find out for themselves. In the design office, Paris exits and Thomas says to his father, "Surprise." Ridge asks if Douglas likes her. Thomas says he does, and it goes both ways. Ridge says they feel good together. "I like her. Everyone in the structure likes her." Thomas feels like there's a but coming. Ridge asks why he needs to get married after everything he just went through with Hope. In the main office, Steffy is concerned that Hope will try to get in her family's head. They go over the reasons Hope turned him down. She says this feels hurried and arch-conservative. How can you actually say that you do and agree? At Bill's place, Luna tells her mama that they should go see this Tom Starr Joe. Bill rejoins them and Luna asks if he sings. He jokes that every canine howls along with him. Poppy thinks they should stay home together. Luna suddenly asks if guarding her heart was the only reason she didn't tell her who her father was all these times. At Il Giardino, Tom addresses to Hollis about what it's like to inspire and followership. Hollis assumes he'd groupies. Tom admits the girls were crazy for him, but that was a long time ago. A continuance. Deacon muses that perhaps he can get a little of that magic back tonight. In the design office, Thomas insists to his father that he's ready to marry Paris. There was a spark between them indeed when they billeted together. Ridge demurs that a spark and getting wedded are two different effects. Thomas says he was a mess when he got to Paris, and Paris pulled him out of that. Ridge asks if he loves her or does he just need to shut down his passions for Hope. Thomas asks if he really thinks he'd use Paris to get over Hope. Ridge says it's a terrible reason to marry someone. Thomas insists that's not the reason. He eventually let go of Hope and this awful person was standing right in front of him. He understands his father's concern, but Hope couldn't commit to him. Perhaps this was all just meant to be the way it all unfolded. He tells Ridge that Paris is the woman he wants to be with, and I am going to marry her. In the main office, Steffy thinks Thomas is an overgrown man who can make his own opinions. Hope can't understand why she's not upset. Steffy thinks Hope is really just concerned about herself. She wants Thomas to still be in love with her, and it's really sad. Hope says she told Thomas that she'd admire his decision. Steffy snarks that she also kissed him. Hope feels she missed it and reminds her that her passions for him haven't changed. At Bill's place, he tells Luna that her mama had her reasons for keeping quiet. Luna can't understand why she'd need to be defended from him. Poppy says she's right and she feels incredibly shamefaced. Luna asks if there's another reason why she didn't tell her the verity.